Worf and Beverly enjoy a nice meal at Arudia 4 Cafe. The Enterprise gets a carpet change, and this is the year of the Irish unification. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3, Episode 12, The High Ground, written by Melinda M. Snodgrass, directed by Gabrielle Beaumont. If this sounds like the first time a woman has written an episode and a woman has directed an episode at the same time in a Star Trek episode, you are correct. It is the first time ever. This was January 27th, 1990. We've got a very special guest, everybody. Can you believe it? One of the most exciting and action-packed episodes ever, thanks to Danger, Dennis Madalone, legendary stuntman and stunt coordinator. How are you today, Dennis?
Hey, great. Thanks so much. It's great being here.
So good having you again. Welcome back. Just to open this up, the rumor is that this episode came about two things. One was it was influenced by the Revolutionary War, and then later it was much more about the Irish situation that was going on in 1989 at the time, like the separation of Ireland and all that. But mainly it was that the executives said they wanted something with more action. They wanted a thriller. They wanted gunfights and laser beams and stuff like that. So this episode was created. So they're like, all right, Dennis, we need you. Do you remember when you first saw this script, or when you were approached, or what your first impression was when you're like, oh boy, this is gonna have a lot of work on this one?
Yeah, TNG had its moments of action, but this one was like, all right, man, now we got something. Sometimes I'm on episodes where I'm babysitting just some of the actors, or we're just doing one stunt. But when I read the title of the script, High Ground, I said, well, I wonder what that means. And then when I read the script, I said, they should change the title to Hit the Ground, because it was not back. And so I said, oh, we got Hit the Ground, High Ground. And it was just like cool action everywhere. And I always have my buddies with me that are just great stunt performers. And I almost got every one of them on that show, because there was so much different action throughout the whole episode. So it was really cool to be on TNG, where there was a lot more action.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, can you walk me through what's the process of you developing coordination for stunts? You get the script, and then you kind of go through the whole thing. Like, what's the timetable involved with that? What's the process like?
When I get a script, sometimes I skip the dialogue and I get right to finding where the action is. And once I find the action, I'll bend the page and make notes, doubles, start to think of visualizing who I want on the team to come aboard on these particular episodes. And then I really do my homework and get everything off the script and on a stunt sheet saying, scene 23, double Captain Picard, blah, 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 blah. And then what I do from there is I call the director first before I call anyone, because if I don't know what he really wants, then I only know what I would like. And then there's things that what the producers are thinking about, but I already know, go to the director. I call him up. We talk through the script. He goes, oh yeah, we'll get a double for Picard, and we'll get a close up of Picard throwing a punch. And then we'll have the double tackling the double for that actor in that scene. And we just talk it all out. So when I go to a production meeting with my stunt budget and my breakdown, every time the scene comes up with a stunt, me and the director are totally in sync. So when we say, yeah, we're going to have a double here and double there, the producer and Mary Howard and Brad, they all go, oh, great, great, great. And so, because I learned when I was 20 years old at Universal, coordinating my first show, I went to a meeting without talking to the director, and there was lots of stunts in it. And I'm just a kid, right? So I'm like learning on the job how to, do all this. And I'm in the meeting, and we get to the stunt scene, and I tell the director, well, I just tell everyone in the room, the producers, everybody. I go, yeah, here we can have, 6 cars sliding, and then we can have a double. And the director, I'm waiting for the director to go, yeah, yeah. And the director goes, that's not what I was thinking. And I'm like, oh, man. And then I go, what are you thinking? Well, maybe 3 drivers. And so he was still along with it, but I realized, wow. So after that whole episode, it went great. I said, I'm always going to talk to the director because he's the man at the meeting that nods yes. And then the producers go, okay, keep that in the budget. It's the director's vision. So since then, I always want to capture the director's vision and even give him more if he's open to it. He'll go, oh, that's even better. So it's really about getting in sync with the director and then making sure we can make budget with our producers and stuff.
Sorry, go ahead, Srock.
No, I just had one little extra follow-up on that. So you meet with the directors, you get the budget assigned, you call your guys up, and everything is going according to plan. Then you're at what point do you work with other with the effects guys for explosions and things of that nature? Does that happen on the set at the time, or is there a pre-walkthrough on where explosions are going to happen and the directions of things?
Yeah, pretty much in the production meeting, that's the first production meeting, and then there's another one. But in between the two is the first one you talk about everything, the effects. We're going to squib the guy for the hits, which we did a lot of squib hits on high ground. Mm-hmm. And then in between the gap of the 2 meetings, the one in the beginning and the one right before the show, like maybe a day or 2 before the show, we walk and talk, and we'll go to the set, and we'll walk and find out. We'll talk to the effects guy if it's going to be, if we need his squibbing to be. We talk to the director where the scenes are going to be and where the actor's going to fall out of frame. So by the time we're really done prepping for 7 days, the director, me, and everybody else is like, all right, let's shoot, because we are so in sync. We're ready to go. We talked it. We walked it. We got everything lined up. Really know what we want. So when we go on the set, it's really magic. It's like just when that scene comes up, we know where the double goes in. We know where the actor comes in. It's just really magic. Everything is just planned out. And then now and then when you're on the set, you ad lib. And the director will go, oh, hey, Denny, can we do this? I go, yeah, let's do it. So you got to be ready to, you put together a great painting for everyone and be ready to add some more painting on it to really make it even better. So I love a director that comes on there and he even wants more on the day. He'll come up with something. But instead of, you don't want a director that's taking away. But I'm pretty famous for creating making, getting what the director wants, but even more, make it really rich. And I remember one of my unit managers, Bobby D on Deep Space Nine, said to a new director that Dennis Madalone's going to give you a whole lot. You probably only need half it, And he was right. I come in with all that. Let's do a big. And we're ready to give him a real lot. And by the time we're done prepping, we end up getting a lot of meat. But I remember my unit manager, that was a compliment. But he was letting the director know, don't let Dennis give you too much,
Everybody just listening in right now, you can't see this, but Dennis is wearing an awesome Greatest American Hero long sleeve shirt. He's also got a picture of himself on fire behind him and another Greatest American Hero image behind him. Great stuff. Love the Greatest American Hero. However, can you walk us through this scene a tiny bit? It kind of opens up the episode. Beverly and Worf, for some reason, are just enjoying a cafe on a mission. And they're like, we're done eating. An explosion happens. You've got presumably three stunt people here taking dives. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. And I remember it was me in the middle, and it was Mark Riccardi wearing the helmet, and it was Pat Tallman or Lynn Salvatore. They're both great stunt women. It was one or the other.
That might be Pat Tallman.
Yeah, I feel like it was Pat for sure. Just I can remember her being there, and it was a huge explosion, bigger than what they normally do. Normally we do something bigger than a squib hit explosion where they shoot cork. But that was a pretty big one. So I remember setting it up with my guys, saying that when this thing starts to go up, we have to really, take the hit, but close your eyes because there's a lot of debris coming. And it only takes one little something to get in your eye. And I remember the way we all flew, we were all in sync on flying the right way. So the debris was hitting the back of our head and the side of our face. And as we hit the ground, I remember Mark Riccardi was wearing the helmet. So he had it made. He had a helmet and goggles playing some kind of, guard. So he was wasted. But that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
And for people that can't see, even when you're doing the reenactment right now, Dennis, there's a way that you flail your body when you get hit. That it's such a performance way that is. I can see the stuntman in you ready for the camera shot, because you do. I remember you saying that on the set, prepping actors for taking hits, or to kind of sell the motions here and there. And you always used to give us those kinds of instructions prior to filming a scene where the actor himself was doing some minor stunt work.
Yeah, and it is. I just recently, over the last few years, I realized that when I am working with the actors and getting them, I'm like a coach. Pumping track kids at the track field in high school, because you got to pump them up, excite them, make them believe, tell them how good they look in the rehearsal. You got to feed them that energy, because some people are shy and they don't know if they're looking good, but I just feed it. I feed them and I build them up. And so every time a guest star comes on a show, I just pump them up. We rehearse them, we get them going, and just get them that energy. So it's always big, and you can't overact on these shows because they're big phaser hits,
Right.
And so I enjoyed all the challenges of all the new actors that come aboard, the guest actors, to start over, see what they have in them, see when I put the fight together, if they don't quite can give us the close-up shot, I'll tweak the fight on something else they could do to fit the guest star. So it's a great performance all the way around. So, sometimes I get an actor and he has a bad neck, and so I have to tweak the fight to adjust to the actor, or they can't quite throw the punch, so I'll change it to a stomach hit, because they can't throw a good face punch. So it's just really, doing all homework before we step in front of the camera, and then get them pumped up, and also know that as much as you pump them up, if it's a fight scene and two actors have to throw a punch at each other, you have to keep stepping in between takes to make sure they don't get over amped where they get too close and they clobber each,
Hey, Dennis, you sent a lot of really great information. I'd love to jump on some of this. So, a couple guys here. One of them looks very familiar. Does that happen to be you? And if so, who's this guy? Is it a buddy of yours?
Buddy, yeah, that's me on the left side of the photo. And you can always tell me, even when I'm a Cardassian or a Klingon, because I got the nice Italian nose, So I'm spot. And right next to me on the picture on the right, that's Kenny Lesko. He's my best friend. We trained together when I was like 18 years old at Paul Stater Stunt School in Santa Monica, California. And we became best friends. So when we exploded in the business, I took pretty much everyone in the gym with me, but especially him. And then he went on to stunt coordinate Pulp Fiction and all these incredible features.
Wow.
So it's great when you can have your buddies with you. And what's cool about that scene is Worf and Jonathan Frakes, they both jumped us from behind and beat the heck out of us. And so it's great it's great when you can get beat up with your buddy right by your side getting beat up. It's pretty cool.
That sounds like a bar fight.
I have another question for you, Dennis. There's something that we see recurring in Star Trek, and I wanted to know if maybe you deserve the credit for inserting this particular aspect of fight choreography, the two-handed punch. We see it many times used in different cases. We saw it in the episode before this, actually. The two-handed boom punch. Major Kira has used it before.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it used in several incarnations, and I want to know, can we credit the two-handed punch to Dennis Madalone?
Put a hold on that. Let me tell you what I did create. That I did take. That they embrace was when I started doing something with Worf. I came up with the, boom, the palm shot into the face.
He does that a lot, yeah.
It felt like Worf. It felt more like that, like a bear, and he looked like a bear with that Klingon gear, and so I think I probably back in my mind got that from a Bruce Lee thing from the early 70s or something, but. And then when I looked at it and he was throwing it for the first time, I said, man, this is cool. I ended up taking that with me on so many things. I let Cardassians use it, other Klingon, Deep Space Nine was one of my favorite moves. And then with Nana, I had her even do a strike. And then, I like Nana. I created like elbow strikes with Nana and she loved it. But she looked so good at it. I made sure that when she fought, we always got elbow shots in there, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
And then, but this thing I took when I was a little kid, 5 or 6 years old in New Jersey. I was watching the original Star Trek, and William Shatner was he was beating up a big, funny looking costume alien. You could tell it was a big costume. It was just. It looked real back then. But if you look at it now, it was just a big alien costume, like a lizard man. And out of nowhere, that show was throwing punches a lot. So when I started doing Star Trek, I said, we're not going to do punches. This has got to be more like elbow strikes, almost like karate, judo, but not the kicks to the face, not sweeping kicks to the face. I felt it was more like all the arm action. But when William Shatner was beating up this creature, he was throwing punches, and out of nowhere he did the double, and then a double thing over the back of the neck, and the creature went down. And so I took that and I brought it back, because out of all the fight stuff from the original series, to me, I said that still could be used in the future. And I used everywhere on TNG and Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I just love the shot in the gut and over the back. It's something easy to show to the actors too and get great reactions. So, I stole that from William Shatner, and but I created the palm shot. So.
That's interesting.
Wow. That is good knowledge.
Yeah, it sounds like the key is you're creating things not just for stunt people, but for actors that aren't necessarily trained in stunts. Something like this, that's doable. You're not flailing a hand where you could go too far and clip somebody's nose or chin. You're not, throwing something. It's like this. It's a very controlled move for somebody that may not be super trained. So that's really cool and interesting. It's fun to know that actually was taken from Shatner fighting the Gorn. But here's a stunt person I think you mentioned. Either that or you showed Worf, Michael Dorn, how to dive back 5 feet while getting shot with a phaser.
Yeah, this is in this shot we used Michael Dorn's stunt double. His name is Rusty McLennan, a great stunt man. And Rusty, I love the first time I started using Rusty, because the minute he flies in the air, he's just a ground eater. And I'm old school. I like getting up, eating the ground, and obviously getting up afterwards and feeling good. You don't want to get clocked and hit your head. So I love Rusty's talent. He's great. He doubled Dorn for, all 7 years. And a neat story about that. Rusty McLennan is African American, but he's really light skinned. His hair was red. He almost looks like he's from Ireland, And so I brought Rusty in to double Michael Dorn for the first time, and they got him in the trailer. And Michael Dorn is like 4 chairs down, getting in makeup, and in goes Rusty. And he walks in and he goes, I'm the double for Michael Dorn, Worf. And Michael Dorn looked at him and he saw a white guy. And
like, what the
he stormed out of the room and went right to the phone and called David Livingston. He goes, I got a white guy down here, double me. I got a white guy. So David came down, and by the time David got there, Michael Dorn already talked to Rusty. And when Rusty went up to him and said, hey, I'm Rusty McClellan. He goes, I'm African-American. And he goes, what? He goes, I'm African-American. And they started jiving back. He goes, oh, yeah, that. And then Dorn looked at him and goes, oh, that's right. That is a fro you got. It's a red fro. And they just became best friends.
I love it.
And David showed up like, oh, my gosh. What did you do, Dennis? I go, I didn't do nothing. I go, these guys are best friends. And he goes, oh, my God.
But it's true. That would have been a very touchy and rightfully so situation. I could totally get that. But I do want to follow up on this scene just a little bit more, if that's okay, because you also sent this, which I don't think that's a stunt double. Is that did you teach Captain Picard how to swing at somebody on the bridge?
I was really proud of Mr. Stewart here, because he just threw a great punch. I mean, look at him. He's leaning, he's throwing his face, the energy. Yeah. I mean, he really sold it. And that's what we do. We just get him all pumped up, tell him how good it looks. And he really nailed it. That's a Chris Doyle. But when Captain Picard threw the punch from the front angle, we were on the actor's face. But they loved this angle better, where it was on the stunt double, which is Chris Doyle. And we see Picard throw the punch. That was the money. The minute they fly out of frame, we cut to a side shot where the stunt double is throwing the punch, and he falls right on top of the Chris Doyle's, he's the double that hit the ground. And so everything just really cut together really cool when you watch that episode with Picard. You can't really tell that he's not the one that landed on him, because we did the director did such a great job of getting a great angle of seeing Picard throw the punch and kind of go up in the air to cut to the two guys hitting the ground.
I had a question also, Dennis, about, sometimes you get an actor that, wants to do a stunt. And where is that line where you draw, where you say, you know what, we got to have the stunt guy do it. We don't want you doing it. Sometimes there's like a bravado there. The actor wants to do it and wants to, be the one doing it. Where do you draw the line and say, no, this is where I, like a medical doctor, have to kind of override?
Yeah, I never really had that issue. Even though sometimes we don't have a double, because it was just going to be a punch and then he falls out of frame into a pad. I just make sure that the actor if the actor's not the one that's going to be in a big explosion, or he's not going to be the one that hits the ground hard. I'll always I'll make the actor feel good. He'll take the punch and go out of frame and land on 4 pads that are like a big old bed with us out of frame, me and a few buddies spotting him so he doesn't miss the pad. And I'll get him, he sells the money shot, seeing the real actor go out of frame. And I'll let him know that now let our guy hit the ground, because this is what he's going to do. And the stuntman does a rehearsal. He eats the ground, and the actor usually says, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't that hard. So the actors will let us get a lot of cool footage, but not let them be in, let's just say, the risky spot, hitting the ground, because we don't want anyone hitting their head. So we just got to be. So I've never really had. I've had actors on the phone before that I would call up, guest stars, and then they would say, "Oh, I want to do my own stuff," but I always bring in a double, and they always do about 40%, and then we do the rest.
Okay.
Hey, Dennis.
That's
wow.
smart.
I just realized we only have about a minute left with you. But before we go, there was also one you mentioned. This was walking through the halls. You said one of your best friends was in this scene. He gets shot by one of the Chris Doyle gets shot, blasted by the stunt woman, Denise Lynn Richards. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, her name is Denise Lynn Roberts.
Oh,
and
Roberts.
she She is a great stunt woman. She doubled Nana a little on Deep Space Nine, and she worked on a lot of Deep Space Nine other than TNG. So she's great. I used her and Pat Tallman a lot because they were both about the same body size. But yeah, Chris Doyle plays just an ND Starfleet guy, and he's walking. And Chris Doyle is the same thing. I went to the gym with him, with Kenny Lasko and all these guys. So it's great having him in there playing himself as a Starfleet, getting shot by another stunt woman, Denise Lynn Roberts. And what was really cool about that episode was we used Chris to play the part. There he is. And then we used him to double the actor that Captain Picard belted. So he got to be in 2 spots in the same episode, which is rare for my guys to do that. But for me, I sometimes I go in 3 or 4 different spots on the same episode because they're different days, you know. So I was a stunt hog. I loved just getting on camera everywhere. Just you know, I love performing. I love wearing the gear, and I'm still that way. You know, ever since I've been 18 years old, I love just going out there and eating the ground and doing cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you, Dennis. You are one of the most loved people that I've worked with. You always bring that A quality, happy, positive, good vibration type energy on the set. The whole pumping up the actors and making them feel good. You do that for everybody you're around. That's infectious energy, and really I want to say thank you personally, because it's a real pleasure to watch you build your career and watch you work. It's why you keep working. It's why people love you.
Hey, Chirac and Ryan, it's easy for me to show up and have that energy all the time because I get to show up every other day and I get to wreck the set, break things, beat people up. And afterwards, I don't have to pay for anything. It's all free. I get to they pay us to do it. It's crazy. And so it's easy to come in and do the crazy fun stuff and people clap and cheer. I mean, sometimes I show up on TNG and they've been working for 5 days straight, overtime, and it's a smoky set and they're tired. But when I show up, it's been pretty cool because it's like, oh, good. Energy goes, the whole crew is like, oh, we're going to kill someone today.
Yeah.
Danger's there. Let's go. So it's kind of an uplift. I'm like the candy man that shows up with the candy truck and the ice cream truck and just so it's easy. The crew, I always look up to everyone. The crew just does they're the ones putting in the 16 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So I always look up to them and bring them good energy and always thank them for their hard work because they're the ones that are really, working all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
You're like a breath of fresh air, Dennis. We love you, man.
Absolutely. And we really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. Very quickly, I do want to say that you reminded me, I did do a lot of stunts back in the day. I say back in the day, but you've been doing them for like 30 or 40 years. But and on a show I did a lot of stunts for was Deadliest Warrior. And I said the same thing you said, which is we're knights out in the mud and the rain, and we're using swords and just destroying each other. And I remember thinking, it's like playing with sticks in your backyard as a kid, and you're destroying things and you're ruining, and you don't have to worry about anything. It's not your stuff. You when you're done, you take it off. They deal with broken swords and shields and everything. It's the most fun thing as long as you're trained. Obviously, huge caveat there. Everybody be careful and don't do anything ridiculous. But Dennis, really appreciate you. You're always such a huge breath of fresh air. We love you and your work, and we really appreciate you taking the time today. Thank you so much for hanging out.
I love you guys, and keep having fun, okay?
We will, with sticks in our backyard. Everybody at home,
some of that.
Stick around. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule.